All right, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good something to you, whatever happens, whenever it is you're tuning in. Hope all's going well for you. Don't mind this. This is just for the camera stability. If this is the last thing you see before you die, I apologize. So, welcome one and all to our round two discussion and our free agency review. We have Alex with me, we have Vlad with me, we have RIPCLIFF with me, and we have Trey with us here as always. So, we're actually going to get into the review portion of the free agency topic, and then we're going to focus on our round two names a little bit later. But just for the sake of, all right, I'm not going to try to kill anybody with how long our conversations go. We're going to have to limit our names because not only did they, they hurt me in so many ways. So, yeah. Well, how's it going, everybody that's tuning in? D. Coleman already here. Good to see you. So, yeah, we're going to focus on this. We're going to focus on the draft a little bit later. So let's get into the free agency discussion. So who wants to kick things off?
I'll take it. So, a lot of people, specifically people from ESPN, have been saying we had one of the lower, I guess you can say overrated free agencies. We all know why they're saying that. There's a guy in Baltimore that's dealing with problems, and Ken Francis and all of that. So if we didn't get him, our free agency was automatically going to be at maximum, and I think we all knew that. But if you're actually a fan of the team, if you actually are, I mean, of course, you know who want Lamar Jackson, but at the stakes, and we'll talk about we talked
You
about
said his name. You said his name. He should be cursed.
The name that shall not be named.
if you said
Done.
if you said number 8, if you wanted number 8, but you also knew what came with it, and you knew we were better off without it, you kind of get it. Now, I'm going to give some props to Vlad right quick because we had a show with Mike and K Styles about a month and a half ago, back in February, maybe early February, where he was talking about, when everybody wanted Deron Payne, including me. He was like, you know what? Why don't we sign Jesse Bates and then get like 2 or 3 defensive linemen, or add to the pass rush and get more quantity
Get that
and quality.
depth.
Yeah, get the depth. Then rather just paying one big time guy. And I was like, you know what? Now that you say that, who would be behind Grady and Deron if we did end up signing Deron? And when you think about it, no one probably would. I mean, they'd be low end starters like Abdullah Anderson and Timmy. Well, I can't really put no shame on Timmy. Timmy did good last year. Who else was there from last year? I can't ever really remember anybody from last
I
year.
mean, Taquan Graham. I mean,
Yeah,
but
take
he's
well, take
developed.
one. Yeah,
Yeah,
take
he's
one.
developing. So
Yeah. So other than take one and Timmy, who was really behind him?
right.
But yeah, I mean, like we were talking about before we started, how we got Caleb McGarry literally for cheap, literally the cheapest offensive tackle signing that started last year in free agency. Um, a personal favorite of mine, I'm not gonna lie. After watching some film on him and looking at games of him, the Mike Hughes signing actually doesn't seem as bad. He was a pretty good slot corner last year for Detroit, and had a breakout slot season in Kansas City about 2 years ago. So that's a dark horse. And Matt Collins signing, I like that. I mean, you can't really lose with that contract. You're literally only paying him like $1.6 million. It's I can see if we sign up for like 3 year 15 or 2 years and 12 or something like that, but 1 year 2.5. Most of that is bonuses, but
Getting him for that kind of a contract, considering how good his run blocking grade was magnificent. But if I had to pick, I got to go with my boy Bates. Like, I've been clamoring him for months at this point. And a lot of people don't realize, but when he was with the Bengals, the Bengals corners weren't all that great, honestly. Like, he actually hid a lot of deficiencies from that secondary for Cincinnati. So having somebody,
The star corner was Eli Apple. I mean, come on.
exactly. Their number one corner was Eli Apple. I got to say more. So it's like the ability to hide those deficiencies on the boundary like that was just vastly underrated.
And we have good
by a lot of
boundary corners. I mean,
That's what I'm saying.
your Terrell and Hayward. Whatever you want to think about Hayward. Hayward is a very consistent, just solid dude. And
He may not-
at the cornerback too. Like,
See, the thing about it too is, like they were just alluding to, we got AJ Terrell, and if getting a little ahead of myself, if we go with a certain corner in round one, now you have two elite boundary corners. So now Bates is like, he's thinking to himself, like, man, I don't got to worry about the boundaries
either one of the
no
corners in the top of the draft, either
Yeah.
Witherspoon or Gonzalez.
Either one.
You're looking very good in the secondary. Like,
but yeah, now Bates is looking at it like, man, I ain't used to having these like elite, boundary corners. I'm man, he's about to eat this year. Like, have they picked their jersey numbers yet? Because I need to get his. Yeah, I need to like the second he finds out what his jersey number is.
I wonder if he'll go with
I
the
got-
30. What is he? 30 in Cincinnati.
Well, I
Right.
think
Yeah.
I think the number 30 for us is retired.
All I know
Oh.
is the day I find out what his jersey number is going to be in Atlanta, I got his jersey on the way because
Yeah.
he's going to eat this year. And then on top of that, Richie Grant, I believe, is going to make a drastic step forward just because the presence of Bates on the back end right there. Richie Grant can focus on more of what he's, better at, that like box safety kind of role because
Right.
he doesn't have to worry about, a ball getting over the top of him.
And here's
So
the thing
it's-
too with those two guys. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry, but
No, you're good.
like Richie Grant's not a great over the top safety. Like, he's not like just elite. He's better down in the box, but he can do that stuff. And Bates can come up and play the run. So like you have this like dynamic with them where you can like move them in different ways to just throw off the offense, and they can be in any area. And now you can cover pretty much the entire field. We've not had a safety tandem like this, like at all. Like our safeties have always been kind of dookie, like, and so even when we did have like decent corners,
I mean,
like,
Willie Moe had a couple of years there, and like Keanu Neal had one or two, but that was
Yeah.
about it, really.
right, and they were box guys. They were
Exactly.
we've never had a single high as good.
No, I was super excited when they actually did sign him because I was just like, man,
Yeah,
that's
that
gonna take us.
changes our whole defense. And people don't. That's another reason they're like underrating some of our free agents. They don't understand how pivotal like that guy is to that defense.
It's
like
the
how
quarterback of your defense, basically.
I mean, it changes everything. It gives your pass rushers just a little bit more time to get there. It gives your corners a little bit more leeway to play up on receivers and play a little bit more aggressive. Like,
when the other quarterback knows you got Bates wandering around in the back, it's going to make him hesitate.
yeah, like
maybe
hold the
2
ball
seconds
just that
longer.
that couple seconds more, and you're looking at, you got Grady coming off. Now you got Onyemata, and you
Ellis.
got Ellis, you got AK, man. You got like people, you got
Angelo.
Carter. Like they're all gonna benefit from that
Yep.
one signing.
Exactly. I mean, AK, he had so many pressures last year; it was nuts.
Right, and he only
Those
had
are
one
gonna-
sack, but he had like
Exactly.
so many times where it was like he was right there. He was getting there.
Exactly. If he would have had that extra second and a half, it would have been a sack. Having
Right.
Bates on
So
the back
like if he
end,
jumps him up to like 8 to 10 sacks or something, like, just that couple of extra seconds, like you could theoretically see that,
yeah.
So I mean, that was just. And okay, let me go on a little bit of rant about Lamar Jackson. All right, I know his name shall not be named.
Say the
But
name.
I'm gonna bring it up.
John!
I saw a video. I shared it in the Discord, and it made me so mad because the guy made the argument against signing Lamar, but didn't realize it because he was saying it to justify the signing of Lamar. He was saying that like basically like we needed to sign Lamar because we've got Pitts and London on rookie deals, and they would be coming off of their rookie deals soon. So that so we needed to strike while the iron was hot, basically, and go for broke with Lamar. My thing is, what we're doing is the exact opposite, but for the same reason. Like, we have Ritter on a rookie deal. We could cut to, if say Ritter comes in, he sucks it up. He's just terrible, right? We have lost nothing with Ritter. Like, we could just cut him, and then we could trade up in the draft and get a quarterback that's on a rookie deal So then we can re-sign guys like Terrell, Kyle Pitts, Drake London when he comes due.
If Ritter comes out and he stinks it up, we're probably going to be picking pretty high anyways.
Right. Yeah. Like, even if we're not picking high, say we're good enough, we got good enough talent that he sucks, but like we're adding that like 10 to 15. Like, I'm okay with trading a few first round picks to go up to, 1 or 2 and getting Caleb Williams or something, like it, and then they're on the rookie deal, like, whereas if you get Lamar and you sign him to a massive deal that's fully guaranteed, let's say he has injury problems, or let's say he's really good, but then like AJ Terrell comes up, can't re-sign him. We're basically having to restructure guys and bleeding money to keep guys around. Whereas right now, the way we're building it, like whenever we do get that quarterback,
cycle that we just broke out of.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the quarterback that we had, and that was the bad thing about Ryan. The only bad thing about Ryan was because of when he came into the league, there was no rookie salary cap, so you didn't, like, even though Matt Ryan was very good when he first came in, you didn't get that benefit of having him on a cheap deal because he signed a massive deal before you even took the first snap, So, and then we had Thomas Dimitroff that didn't know how to sign a free agent to save his life that was worth a damn. Ray Edwards. Star pass rusher in Minnesota that got 8 sacks when he was like the only, like, he got single covered all the time, or single, he was doing one-on-ones the whole time. And I even when we signed him, I was like, I don't think this guy's gonna be.
But speaking of Ritter, though, I honestly do think I think Ritter's going to be just fine.
Oh, I think so too. I'm not. I don't think. Yeah, I think Ritter's actually going to be very. I don't think he's going to be like a star quarterback, but he's going to be a guy that's going to like keep you in games and keep it going. That's all we need. We need kind of a game manager type.
Well, like I've been saying for months at this point, better part of a year at this point, that the thing about Ritter is he has what I think is honestly one of the most important things a quarterback needs, and that's the mental part of it. Like, he's just athletic enough to get it done, but having it upstairs is so important, because you have to be able to like read defenses and like I don't know if y'all seen it, but the Falcons Twitter put out a thing that every time they like reach out to him, he's always like working on, it's that drive. And like a lot of players, like not a lot of players,
the it factor. He has
exactly.
I mean, he's won everywhere. He's like, he won in Cincinnati was not a great football program, but they won and got to the college football playoff.
Give you an example, like Vic Beasley had all the athletic ability in the world, right? Mm-hmm. Didn't have the drive. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the opposite here with Ritter. He has all the drive in the world, and that'll carry him very far.
And he's a 3rd round pick, man. Like, all you have is ice, like all the upside. There's no, like, if he doesn't work out, like, you're not out anything. Whereas if you sign Lamar and just guarantee all that money, you're banking on him staying healthy and being just an incredible franchise quarterback for 10 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got more people here. Alex, if you're still here, is there a name you want to bring up for our free to see?
Yeah. So I'm actually a pretty big fan of the Mac Hollins signing. I think that what we did later in the season with Ritter, we had an issue with having guys that were able to defeat press, and Drake London was really our only guy. We had to trot out Damiere Byrd out there because we cut Brian Edwards. We were struggling outside of Drake London.
Oh no, we cut our precious Brian Edwards. What are we ever gonna do?
I think Brian Edwards maybe would have been a lot more effective with maybe Ritter starting, and also had we faced more press, because I just don't think we faced a lot of press man coverage, and it was just like more of a weird situation. But towards the later part of the year, we had to use CP and Drake on thunder routes and trying to use them on little curls that convert to goes, and it wasn't terrible. But when CP became our second reliable option as a boundary receiver, that became a problem. So getting a guy like Mac Hollins, who's 6'4", can get off the line. I saw that in the Saints game. That was very impressive. He was able to actually just guard guys in a very convincing manner. He's big. He can turn goes into comebacks. He can win back shoulder, and he has, in my eyes, I think he has enough speed to stack if people get if people get scared about that back shoulder and win over the top. So I think that overall, you get a guy that not only adds run blocking value, not only is good versus off coverage and zone coverage, finds little holes there, not only can play special teams, but you get a guy that can help you beat press man coverage. So we don't have to be in a situation where we can't throw the ball with our young quarterback. So that's probably how I view it.
Plus, I think with Mac, he was in Miami a little bit, and then he was with Vegas a little bit, and now he's over here. So I think he's really trying to find a home, and I think that he's already kind of embraced Atlanta as his home. Another player, since we were going on this whole quarterback conversation. See, Coleman brings up, I'm not seeing Washington catch some sort of, that we got for that they got for signing with Howell and Brissett. They didn't really make the playoffs too, and that was pretty much because of Carson Wentz. But one player that we did pick from them, Taylor Heineke. Okay? Now, here's the thing. Throughout the entirety of last season and the previous season, whenever we got to a Commanders game, I had absolutely no idea how we could win because Taylor Heineke was starting that game. And I don't know why. I'm not trying to downplay us. I'm actually trying to prop him up because some of the things that he's able to do, right, when it comes to the just the broken plays and the scrambles and just the lobbing it up to your guys and just trusting that Terry McLaurin and company will just come down with it. And it just always works, right? That's like Russell Wilson type stuff.
Top
actual
3.
Russell Wilson stuff. Not Broncos Russell Wilson, but just it's just got the uncanny ability to make a play whenever it's necessary.
He's a top 3 backup QB in my opinion. Dude's amazing.
Yeah, it's he was the one dude that somehow found a way to beat Philly last year. At Philly, at a primetime game. People actually saw that coming. That's how confident that people had. That's the confidence that people share with Taylor Heineke. I didn't see people having that same kind of confidence, even from Mariota in Tennessee. So there is a difference there, right? You want to talk about Ritter having that it factor? I think Taylor Heineke was born from that it factor.
Yeah, exactly.
Reason, sure.
He's such a good quarterback. He's such a good backup.
He's going to keep your team in the game. He's going to keep the other opponent in the game. But I think you can take that chance because some of the things that he specializes in, which is just those deep, just those go-get-it balls, which is what we've been missing from Mariota for just the latter half of the season.
I honestly
don't
think
now has people.
Yeah, and not even
right?
that. Let me just make this point here real quick. Not even just on the field. He is going to be very important in practice and in the meeting rooms with a young Ritter.
That's exactly
bringing
what I was
him
about
along.
to say.
He's
that's
incredibly smart.
Invaluable. I thought Mariota would be that could transition to that guy, but obviously he threw a fit whenever he got benched and basically quit on the team. So he showed that he wasn't really he didn't have that makeup that I thought he might have. But Heineke has that.
Says your peers conceded the match.
So, that's very that's probably the most important thing with the Taylor Heineke signing is having a good veteran backup to bring Ritter along.
And the crazy thing is that, his whole mentality of just hey, my guy's going to go get this. We have the perfect roster for him. In order for him to have that mentality, right? He can throw it up to Drake London and he can just go up and get it. He can throw it up to Mac Hollins and he can just go up and get it. He can throw it up to Kyle Pitts and he can just go up and get it, right? So, and that's just 3 of them. We can add more names. And I can even include Cordell Patterson too, if we're really, wanting to go that route offensively. So there's just a lot of different ways that you can do if we have to put him on the field, right? Now that's the one kicker, right? We're not expecting him to actually be on the field for us, but we're saying, hey, if push comes to shove, right? A lot of people are saying, oh, well, we need that competition in the room for Ritter. I think he's got that, and I think that he can actually provide that just a little bit more than what a rookie quarterback could do in this class.
And it's nice to
because
know
he's got more experience. He's got things that are like an equal advantage to disadvantage ratio, so that they could be kind of neck and neck if Ritter didn't already possess the experience of being in the building as the quarterback one.
It's always nice to know too that you have the safety blanket, knock on wood, just in case something does happen to your starting QB.
Exactly.
Speaking of the competition thing too, no, I think we were talking about this about 2 or 3 weeks ago, but I said something about when people say bring in competition and bring in somebody to compete with him to see if they need that number one spot. When you do that, people have to realize you're taking away number one reps from the guy that you're most likely predicting to be your QB1. And when you do that, you're kind of hurting him because let's say during training camps and OTAs and during preseason when you're training with the ones, you're messing them up because they don't have all the chemistry that they need. Now, of course, you can say that about Tyler Heineke too, because when the backup comes in, sometimes you can see them as chemistry. But if you're gonna let Desmond Ridder be the quarterback one this season like they are, you can't really take away any reps from him unless he's injured or you just know that he's not doing so well in OTAs and in training camp. So the competition thing, I could see it because it's pushing them, and to know that you have somebody like Taylor Heineke behind you that could come in and do better than what you're doing, because he has led to a team to the playoffs. What was his record last year? 8. He had an 8-1 record last year. So
he came in when the Commanders were like 2-5 or 2-6 or whatever, and then won 6 straight games.
Yeah. So just to know that he can take a team from bottom of the tier to competitive and in the playoff mix and all of that, you have to kind of stay on your toes and come to practice ready each and every day, because it helps you a lot. But to also know somebody like that is behind you helps you a lot too.
Yeah, another thing that D. Coleman just pointed out, it's like Heineke is even, willing to let Sam Howell just take the keys just for one last, week. Just for, him to have that experience, just for them to, kind of be like, all right, well, let's see who we got in this guy.
It helped.
And again, not everyone's going to be able to do that.
I think Taylor knows what it feels like to kind of be behind and to not have that experience and then to come in. I think everyone knows the story.
I was going to say, that man was sleeping on his sister's couch at one point.
He was sleeping on, he knows what it feels like to not have, to be in games and be sitting on the bench or sitting at home and watching games. So, to let Sam Howell come in, and he didn't have to do that. I think Washington wanted to start him that last week because that basically was his last game. If we're being honest, that was his last game as a Commander. So to let him come in, you don't know if he's going to be the starter next year, but I think they're going to let him be the starter, from what I've heard. But that's just true leadership and hospitality right there to be like, yeah, man, I know this could be my last game as a Commander, but I know you need the reps and the experience too. And I think that game mattered too. I forgot who they were going against, but I think
that was supposed to be their quasi playoff game.
Yeah, that was
Ron Rivera didn't know.
Yeah.
And how about locking up Lindstrom for the next 5 years?
6 actually. He's
6,
not getting out till 2029.
Yeah.
By then.
That's probably the biggest signing outside of maybe Bates.
That's honestly, a lot of people sleep on the right guard, but having a foundation at your right guard is pivotal for especially a developing quarterback.
And a zone blocking scheme like we run. That's very important.
Oh yeah.
Center and in your guard positions are very important in a zone block scheme. So
exactly.
They got the right guard, but it's just can whoever's playing left guard this year and Drew Dahlman get it together at center.
I'm
Or forward, if this man is playing puck pass with his snaps this year, he's
that
got
was what was that. That's what killed me about him. Like everything else was okay, but like that snapping thing's got to go.
I understand he's kind of on the smaller side of a center because he's like 6'3" or 6'2", 290, 300. So he is kind of on the smaller side of what a regular center would be. But then again, you have guys like Alex Mack that came in here. Not to compare Drew Dalman to Alex Mack, but you have guys like Alex Mack that's more of on the smaller side of the center, but just the aggressiveness and the violence he played with, it kind of led him to be a Hall of Famer now. Of course, I think was when he got drafted, did we still have Alex Mack on the team, or was he on the Browns then? I mean, not on the Browns.
We didn't have
Who
we
Yeah.
didn't have Mac whenever we got Dolman. Dolman was
that was
20,
Hennessy.
20.
That was Matt Hennessy that got.
Yeah, it was Hennessy.
Yeah, it was Hennessy.
Yeah. But and then Jonnu Smith, like that's a very underrated trade, and that because like people
The fact
are
that we're
kind of
still going,
sleeping
like,
on him.
oh my gosh.
because of him being with Matt Patricia for the year and not really with a team that knew how to use him. But whenever he was with Arthur Smith knew how to use Jonnu, and what better to have one super athletic tight end than to have two. And now you can do so much more with Pitts. The same thing kind of like with Bates in Grant. Like I think Jonnu makes Pitts more valuable in that you can do a lot more with him now that you have another guy that's of similar.
I mean, you can literally have like Pitts out wide with Drake, Tyler Algier in the backfield, and him, at the traditional tight end slot,
Right. And if we didn't have a tight end that ran a 4.4, a tight end that ran 4.6 would be very impressive.
Exactly.
Oh man, but I just think he's going to be very pivotal. I mean, obviously, it's all going to be contingent on Ritter. I mean, Ritter's going to have to perform for our guys to get production, and that was the problem with Pitts. It wasn't that he had a bad year; he had a great year as far as his play, but Mariota couldn't get the ball to him.
Wasn't it like 38% of his like passes were uncatchable because of
Yeah.
Mariota?
Yeah.
So, like 26.
Heck, and even if he gets like that for Ritter, you can just have Jonnu Smith as a running back in the backfield. Like he's done that before too.
I mean, you could.
Yeah.
That's another thing about Ritter too, is the fact that you do have these receivers with these giant wingspans. It's like you don't even have to like put it on a dime. You just got to put it in their vicinity, and like that's gonna play dividends to Ritter too, being able to have that kind of safety blanket around his receivers. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, just don't massively underthrow it.
Yeah.
No.
See, the thing with Ritter though is those last 4 games, I don't think we're gonna have to worry about that because I wouldn't say the first game. Well, really, that Baltimore game to the Tampa Bay game, his accuracy wasn't really like – I didn't really see the concerns that people were talking about because most of his balls, especially the intermediate, like 12 to 15-yard throws, were pretty much on point. And remember, most of his targets last year, other than Lamine Zaccheaus and Demir Bird, were like
he had that
6.
nasty he had that nasty pass to London too.
Yeah, Ritter's an extremely accurate quarterback. He's underrated in his accuracy. Like his ball placement could be better on some things, but it's not like terrible. But he's accurate though.
He's not a Michael Vick accuracy type guy. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of people slept on his accuracy, but I didn't see that big of an issue coming out. Honestly, not as.
Okay, so 30 minutes in. Did we cover everything that we wanted to talk about for free agents?
Yeah,
Pretty much.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, cool. So that means that now we can actually pay attention to what's on the whiteboard and focus on, not my mug, some names for round 2 of this draft. So now that we got a new participant here with us, I'm still going to have to do the same thing of making sure that I'm the one that's eliminating based off the information you give me. So I didn't, if we didn't make that clear, that's the rules we're still sticking by. But oh yeah, we did talk about Caden Ellis. I could talk about him a little bit more. As I I didn't realize how sneaky he actually was in coverage until Alex kept bringing it up because, yeah, like he's not bad, right? Because I was thinking like, okay, well, I see most of his clips and he's like rushing the passer and whatnot, and so I was like thinking, okay, well, he might be just like a speed specialist or on like third downs and situations, and I was like, no, I was like, oh, you can actually have him drop back in coverage and he can still take care of either like a running back or a tight end. I'm like, really? Okay, cool, because that's what we were missing from Rashaan Evans. Is that ability to do either or, right? So now that we have Trey Anderson to just be the go take out a tight end and just do that for the rest of the game if we really wanted to do that, or we can have him be a thumper and stopping the run. But now Caden Ellis is just another person to either disguise a coverage and then go into a blitz, or you can disguise a blitz and go into coverage, right? We didn't have a whole lot of people that could do that because one of them had to specialize in something, but they couldn't do either or. So now Caden Ellis is an either or kind of guy, and with more playing time, I think that he can actually do really well for us. So
yeah, that was a sneaky good signing, actually.
Yeah, there's your like minute and a half of Caden Ellis talk. So now let's talk about some other people that we can get on our
Draft time
for pick 44. Keep in mind, for our ideas and our players that we're going to bring up, they may not necessarily have to be picked at number 44 in order for us to try to talk about them. We're not going to talk about a whole ton of names, like I said, but the ones that we will, we're going to try to hone in on and see if we can gather as much information as we can for you guys, because I know now that round 2 and past round 2, PFF put a paywall behind your mock draft simulators. So I don't know. You either can't beat them, so you join them, and so maybe my next stream is going to be a paid for third round and beyond, or we give it to you for free. So let us know what you guys want to think about that, because we still got a lot of other people that we can throw out there in the later rounds, and if people are going to have to go through these other restrictions in order to kind of get that content, don't worry, we got you covered, man. So let's bring up the first name. Vlad, who do you want to talk about?
My number one guy in round 2 would be Keon White from Georgia Tech.
Now, I know that we talked about him. If you remember the last stream, it was kind of like middle to the end of it. We did bring up his name, but keep in mind that was for the first round discussion, and I crossed the name off because I think that he would be a better fit for us in round 2, which is why I don't mind having his name brought up again. So
The main reason I like him so much is because like just the first thing that pops off to you when you watch him on film is like his athleticism. Like this man is like crazy athletic, like 285 pounds, and just moves like he's like 230. Like it's crazy. He has a lot of positional versatility. That's one thing I really like about him. Also, you can move him around a line a lot. The only thing with him though is he's really raw. Like in 2021, he missed 8 games because of a basketball injury, and 2022 was his first like full season, and he actually came out the gate swinging pretty good. But the reason why I like him so much is I think our defensive coordinator could really like refine those pass rush, moves and whatnot, and turn him into like a 3-down, like 10-sack guy. Like I do think that.
I could see that, because the thing with Keon White is I think he was going to be like a high third rounder, low second until his senior role, and I think people needed to see extra stuff because
that's like a big thing too.
Yeah, because like you said, he was injured all of 2021 and didn't really get any playing time in 2020. So when it came to 2022, it was just like either you got to pop off, or you're probably going to end up being undrafted or like 6th or 7th round. And for him, I think he was the best defensive lineman at the Senior Bowl. I don't know if y'all may agree with me on that, but I think out of edge rushers, he was the best. And I think out of just all defensive linemen, pass rushing, all of like every single thing that goes into it, I think he was the best at it, especially his pass rush moves. I liked what he did at the Senior Bowl.
And I agree that he's going to take some time to get acclimated, and he's probably going to be better as like a rotational kind of like a run defender that gives you a little bit of pass rush upside at the beginning. But he's got the side, like he's definitely a guy that if you think that our defensive coordinator coming from the Saints, like that's kind of the players that the Saints drafted to play their edge, kind of those athletic, bigger defensive ends. So like he would kind of fit that mold if, in fact, our defensive coordinator is going to try to mimic some of the things that he did in New Orleans, because obviously he was just a deep, D line coach. So he could be, he could run a completely different philosophy, as far as that goes, but we don't know yet. But because he's kind of got that size that like a Cam Jordan or like a Marcus Davenport would have, and like an athletic profile similar to them. So
yeah, he definitely will be more of a rotational guy. Definitely year one. He'll probably be a 2, maybe year 3 kind of like breakout candidate. But when he does, I think he'll be monstrous.
Speaking of another player, who wants to go next with a player? I think I can go with Alex, because if I don't bring him into the conversation, I'm afraid he might fall asleep on us. So, so give us a sleeper
A sleeper. Okay.
for round 2.
You know what? I'll give you a sleeper for round 2. A real sleeper. So he's not really a traditional round 2 guy. As a matter of fact, I think the Draft Network has him going probably in the 7th round. I'm gonna bring him up.
Good Lord.
Jesus.
I think that he's underrated. I think that he's very underrated, and I think that honestly, you could make a case for him in the 2nd round. So I'm gonna go with Habuk Baldonado.
Okay, dude, come on, man. I ain't spell check. What is that?
Just put HB.
Fine, you could just put H.
I'm gonna put HBK for Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
That's
But the reason why I brung him up is well, first of all, I could list the crazy stat, but I'm not. I'll list it. So in high school, he played 3 years maybe in Italy, and then he transferred to Florida, and in Florida, in that one season, in that singular season, he racked up 30 sacks and also got 2 touchdowns. So I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's insane. But then I watched the tape, right? I watched the Tennessee game, him versus Darnell Wright, and he tagged him quite a few times actually. And I saw that and I was like, oh my gosh, that's interesting, because he showed the fact that he's able to pull off swipes, that he's able to grip, that he has bent. He was used in the inside a little bit, showed off a lot of power. He was able to tag Darnell Wright, and I was like, that's insane, because Darnell Wright is also the same guy that had a good performance versus Will Anderson. So I was like, okay, this is a guy that you could that people are not going to know about, that people that people are going to sleep on, that may not go probably until like the 5th round, but you're going to get instant value, because if he's able to do this versus Darnell Wright, I'm scared what he's going to do with Ryan Nielsen in his pass rush group. So I think that he's a very underrated guy that people should keep an eye out on. Oh, and also Brett Coleman had also mentioned him before. I didn't realize that until yesterday, but he Brett Coleman has also mentioned it before. So
okay. I need his full name again. All right.
Habuk, I think, yeah. Habakuk. I don't know. Habakuk.
You're gonna give me the freaking Bible book of Habakkuk? What is this, dude?
I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm terribly sorry. I don't know. But Baldonado from Pittsburgh University. I don't know how to say his first name. But yeah, he's really good.
They have it in the chat how to split.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Nathan. Okay.
Yeah,
That's got to be one of the weirdest names in human history.
It literally is the Bible book of Habakkuk. Okay, so I just want to do his name some due diligence. I gotta move the entire face around for this name. Good Lord. All right. Say goodbye to Marker Man. As
I wonder if I should have said this over some others.
Okay. I feel like the next name has to be 3 syllables or
Jimmy.
less per name.
Jimmy.
So,
All right.
I guess I'll take this next one.
all right.
So I'm not gonna lie. Guys, this is not a biased pick, but he is from Alabama. This is not biased, I swear. But I'm going with Jahmyr Gibbs. Just how he plays, he would literally like the thunder that Tyler Algier has, he'd be that lightning. I don't
That's
know. It's
correct,
just
right?
the way, yeah.
That is.
HMYR?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just the way that he plays. It's just like if you put him and Arthur Smith and you have a two-headed monster like Algier and Jahmyr Gibbs, it's literally unfair. It's like nearly having a younger, maybe like way less stronger, but nearly like another Cordell Patterson except faster. If we're being honest, he can play he can play in the spot at wide receiver. He's great out of the backfield, but his vision as a running back is just crazy. He's a one-cut guy. He can move you out of the way if he needs to. He can juke you out your shoes if you need to. It's just he's literally a complete back. If it wasn't for Bijan Robinson, he'd probably be the number one back in the draft. No, not probably. He would be the number one back in the draft.
Yeah, I was gonna say he'd be number one, and it wouldn't be close.
Yeah, because I mean, of course, you got Tajay and Devin Achane and Tank Bigsby, but it's just like other than Tajay Spears, he's really the closest to him, and he still doesn't even touch him. So, in my opinion, if we do end up going corner or edge, either one, I mean, of course, you could go Keon White or B.J. Ojolari or the guy from Kansas State. I keep forgetting his name. He wears number 91, but he's like
Felix
6.
and Duque.
Yeah,
and
Felix.
Duque, Azuma. I think
Yeah, he was like 6'4", 2'8", like 255, 265. But it's just you don't really trade back in the first round for running backs, nor do you take him in the first round. But I think Jahmyr Gibbs goes in the first round. Now, it's like a 60-40 chance he goes in the first and he slips to the second. He's more than likely going to slip to the second, but he's not going to be on the board for long. But it's just what you could do in the running game and even in the passing game with Jahmyr Gibbs is just insane to think about, especially after the running game we had to put in Duke Huntley as an emergency. Tyler Algier didn't even really get any playing time until week 3. And
There was also a few times when Tyler Algier broke away and got ran down from behind. If Gibbs breaks away like that, it's going to the house.
He's gone. It's just Tyler Algier, I'm not gonna lie, he has speed, but Jahmyr Gibbs has speed. It's like the difference between him and Algier is like just a big difference. And when you put that on like a stretch play or between the tackles and he breaks away, or put him on a screen pass. We had a lot of, or we all know, it may be annoying, but we all know Arthur Smith loves his screens. We all know he loves his screens. Put him on a screen, perfect blocking or nearly perfect blocking. And Jahmyr Gibbs can turn a 5-yard Tyler Algier run into like a 15 with just his speed alone.
Okay, then. Whew.
And I guess I'll go next. My guy, we've been talking about edge, talking about running back. I kind of want to go back to the big uglies up front, and I want to talk about John Michael Schmitz from Minnesota. Now, I'm not one that like bashes Dahlman. Actually, my last video on my now dead channel, I will start it back up eventually once I have time. But
I honestly, I actually almost considered putting like this stream on your channel too.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, if I have too many internet issues.
Yeah. No, you're good. You're good. It will come back, guys. I've been busy with a bunch of other stuff, and I just haven't had time to dedicate to it. So, but the Dahlman, I'm not like I think that Dahlman has potential, but I also know that John Michael Schmitz is that dude when it comes to center. And he could also give you value at guard if you wanted to play him at guard first and then move him to center. Um, he's just, I mean, he plays with such good leverage and such good pad level. His footwork is awesome. He moves people. Has a good pass set. I mean, he's almost a perfect center prospect. I mean, he's not like Linderbaum, but honestly, it's not that much difference. I think he's similar to like a Alex Mack type of guy. Like that's kind of what he reminds me of. And it's just
And that's big coming from you, who said that you
Yeah.
don't really do player comparisons like that.
Yeah, I don't like doing player comparisons, but just trying to give, and that's not saying that he's going to be Alex Mack. That's just to give you kind of an idea of kind of his play style and what I see whenever I'm reviewing him. But it's just he's just, if you want to shore up that center position, you would go with him. And he's actually a guy that I could see going in the first round because of the upside. But some team in the lower half of the first round taking him. But if he's there, I wouldn't mind taking him.
Ooh, okay. Well, got some 4 fantastic names. Who's going to kick us off with the last name that I can write down?
Vlad, you want this one?
I'll let you get it, dude. Go for it.
All right. Okay. Actually, I kind of wanted you to get this one. All right.
You didn't have to volunteer.
Okay. Well, honestly, I'm stuck in between 2 guys.
Don't say it like that on our stream.
My bad. You good. All right. Anyway, you know what? All right. You know what? I'm gonna go with a name that's relatively popular. Probably not a need, and honestly, I get it. I'm just gonna say it because I wanted to just kind of say my perspective on this. I'm gonna go with Adeto.
Oh my God, not again. All right, bring up the dictionary. Nathan, what do you got?
I was gonna do like Zay Flowers or like Marvin Mims.
I'll go with the Northwestern kid that everyone's been talking about. So it's funny because I had watched him in December and I was like, oh, this guy's like a 4th round guy. And then everyone started the Senior Bowl, he went crazy. And in the Combine, everyone loves him. And now people are saying that he might get 1st round hype and things like that. And I was like, you know what? I don't see it. And then so I went ahead and rewatched the Ohio State game. Right. And for most of that game, I was like, I'm not seeing it. But then I watched more, and then he didn't really have any crazy production versus the tackles, but versus the guards, he showed a really nice bull rush, showed a lot of power. He had the guard basically just stumbling, and I thought that was amazing. He showed really, really good bend, fluidity, or not really, really good bend, but nice bend. He showed really nice fluidity, like to do cross chops and things of that nature. Just things that you don't see guys that could probably play inside and out or at his size probably doing. He has good hand usage. I think that both the tackles, Paris Johnson and DeJuan Jones, gave him good quality competition. And while I don't think he got like any crazy pressures or anything against them, I think that I did see good hand usage, and that if he played lower quality competition, he would have been destroying them. And I think that I get the hype now. I get the hype. He can play both inside and out, and I think that he's a really good player.
Okay. So now we have these 5. I'm going to keep it like this, and now we're going to talk about, well, which out of these 5 could we be taking? Now, I'm not going to leave it at just 5 names, but I do like the, idea of stopping it right here as a checkpoint and just, kind of recapping what we have just for the people that kind of tuned in a little bit later. So, Keon White, Habakkuk Baldonado, Jahmyr Gibbs, John Michael Smith, And then, all right, let me prime myself up to say this. Adetomiwa Adebaware. Right? Huh?
Sound like you were
Pretty
speaking
good.
Spanish for like 2 seconds. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I wouldn't call it Spanish, especially when you look at the guy. So, but okay, so we have 3 of the same kind of position, basically, and then we got running back and center. Oh, now it's just a matter of, okay, well, I like the inclusion here, right? I like the creativity of this name being thrown up here. I don't think that we'll need to have to try to get him in the second round, right? Like, despite the lack of hype that he might be getting, despite the future hype that we could predict him to have, I don't think that it shoots up from 7th round unknown to second round pick, not that fast. Because even if you're Terry Fontenot, right, like, you would know this player's talent, and you would know, like, because of your scout team and your experience with this, you would know not to reach for a guy like this, and you would know how to keep him under the radar for you. So, Habakkuk, you've been included. You've been brought up in our discussion. It's been great having you. But now
We gotta go.
it's going to take a little bit in order for me to erase your.
I do think that he could definitely be a steal in like the 5th, something like that.
Or, you know, like, if he is as good as Alex advertises, like 4th round, even, you know,
I mean, it's
I don't
possible.
think day 2, you know. So, whereas with Keon White, Jahmyr Gibbs, John Michael Smith, I'm going to go 1 for 1 with saying his name and just keep it at that. Oh, all right. So, John Michael Smith. Now, when it comes down to our center position, it's been, well, about as shaky as my camera when I don't have these markers up on here. And we know how bad that gets. So,
Went from a
I
washout.
do like having some consistency. And I do like having a really good zone blocker, too. And that's like one of his specialties, as well as pass protection.
Yeah, he has a very, very strong anchor. I definitely like that about him.
Yeah, so I do think that he's going to be a rather hot commodity, but I think that, like, the top of the round, like top of the second round, that's kind of a prime spot to take him. If you think that he goes higher than that, I completely understand, but I think that, because of some of the positions, other people just have to fall just naturally. So I think I really see him as a high second rounder. I see the same thing. Excuse me. I see the same thing with Gibbs too. So, if not like a late first, I know we kind of bash the people that take running backs in the first round, but I think that he's one of those fields where you can kind of get by in like the later like 20s or like 31 or something, and just have a good night's sleep for the first day.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire went in the first round, so Gibbs could definitely.
Yeah, and that was kind of like a
possible.
Mahomes recommendation too, which is crazy because they're not really using him. Wasn't he
I
already
think he's
traded?
about to get cut.
Yeah, like I thought I heard his name in like trade rumors and stuff.
It was last year before the trade deadline because Isaiah Pacheco started going off around then. And then, of course, they had the other running back. I forgot his name. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire just after that injury, really that third or second shoulder injury, that upper body injury, he just started sliding down the depth chart. And then, of course, I mean, they tried making him a power back. And with his height and his weight and just the way defensive linemen are built these days, that's like Dirk Cutter trying to make Ito Smith a 2, 3, and 1 gap back. That was literally what happened. And that didn't work out. I mean, of course, he was great in the past. He was a great receiving back, but it's just like that wear and tear on the dude that's only 5'8", 175, 180 pounds, with 300-pound linemen just falling on him nearly every play. That may be the one screw up I could say Andy Reid has had with an offensive player the last 3 years, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I think the one thing about Schmitz that probably my favorite trait about him is his hand implementation, like to win at first contact. Like it's crazy good. Like I dare say even like up at the elite level, like his hand usage is nuts to me.
And then, so obviously you guys are going to know even more about Keon White than I will. If you guys can group together and come up with a play, right? Like if people wanted to know like who Keon White is, like do you guys have a play in mind that you would show people like, hey, this is who Keon White is?
I think it was his first actual game back this year where he had like 2 sacks in the game, or I may be mistaken, but I know he had a double-digit sack game this year. And he was just everywhere on the field. He did
double-digit sack game this year.
I mean, not double-digit, but like two. He had I think he had like 2, maybe 1.5 sacks in the game, and he had a lot of just the plays he made. He may have not gotten the tackles, but he was the reason the tackle was made. Let's just say that like those first 2 to 3 games is where people started to really notice him. I really started to notice him, but I think you could really either say that first or second game. You go back and look at that. You know,
it was the game versus Clemson.
Yeah,
two tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 3 solo tackles. Like, and he had 2 assists also. Like he was all over the field. That's a really good one. And then go look at the North Carolina game. That was another really good one. He had 4 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 4 solo, and 3 assist tackles that game. Like he was a madman that game.
I was about to say Syracuse for the Clemson game because it just reminded me of the colors for some reason. But yeah, it was that especially. I didn't get to watch the North Carolina game. I don't think I've seen anything on that yet. But I do know the North Carolina game. He was literally everywhere.
Oh yeah, he was wrecking shop that game.
And then Alex, if I can say the same thing for you, like what was the game or like what was the play in which made you want me to put his name down at number 5?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, right, I wasn't really high on him, but I saw more of like the Ohio State game, and I saw a play where he was lining up inside. Don't remember what tech he was, but he was going up against, I believe, the left guard in that game, and then he just tried a bull rush and then just absolutely like had him stumbling, and I was like, oh my gosh. Because like up until that point, I just have been seeing hand usage, him trying to win at the corner, showing off spin moves, all this great stuff. But I just didn't see a whole bunch of power. And I saw that, and I was like, oh gosh, if he could get like another rep, like versus like another guard with just showing like the stuff they showed earlier, then I'll be set. And then he did, and I was like, yeah, this guy, I get it now. So yeah, he's pretty good.
And the thing about it too is he's still pretty raw coming out because he actually had a position transition. So he's actually relatively new to defensive end. So having a guy like I'm having a brain fart, our defensive coordinator Ron Nielsen, having somebody like him to actually like refine that with all that athleticism he has, I think he'll be like a monster. Like I said earlier. Like he'll be crazy good.
I don't think I really need to ask the same question for Jahmyr Gibbs and John Michael Smith, especially with JMS. I think that his tape is going to be really boring, but I think that that's like a strong suit about him.
He's
because the fact that nothing really changes, like nothing really happens. Like that's exactly what you want to have happen.
It's not boring to me because I'm a big O-line guy, and
I get that, but
I go crazy. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
He's
so
it's like, oh well, I can't tell what play between the other one because he all does everything so well and it's all the same.
Yeah, he's definitely my top interior guy on the O-line. Like I really like Schmitz.
Oh.
Shoot, you could just turn on any game of Jameer Gibbs this year and be like, "Oh yeah, there's
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's that burst.
Yeah.
So here's what we got going on here. Because if you guys followed along, right? We drafted Christian Gonzalez in our at our 8th spot last week 2 weeks ago before we did this. So if we already have like our secondary taken care of on our defense, and if we already have some of our other needs met on offense, not all of them, but just like enough in order to get by, I think we have to figure out when is the time to kind of flip over to caring about the other side, right? Because if we go if we kind of double dip on defensive positions here, like what does that say? And then if we go like defense, offense, or even like offense, defense, like what does that say?
maybe trying to balance it out." Because I mean, if you look at it from the aspect, they did put more assets into the defense in free agency than they did offense. Not to say that, it was what's the word? It was more that we needed it more, because both sides of the ball needed talent on the field. We didn't have a number 2 wide receiver. We didn't really have a number 2 tight end either. But on the defensive side of the ball, we needed a safety. We needed somebody to go next to Troy Anderson and Grady Jarrett. So it was just like, what? Wherever you can plug and fill in holes with talent, you take it. But that's kind of why, after, of course, we all know that 8th overall pick is most likely going to be defense. But when it comes to 44 and 75, it's just like, okay, when you look at it, is it really going to be like, oh, that's a lock for offense, or that's a lock for defense? Because you still need a slot wide receiver. You still need a running back too. You still need some edge help, some rotational edge help. Shoot, you can even take another linebacker, because this linebacker class is filled with a lot of day 2 and 3 guys.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be mad at a guard or a center.
and how I always say about an approach to a draft: every position is a need, because you're drafting for 4 to 5 years projection for any player you pick. So you can't say, oh, well, we filled this position in free agency, or we have this position locked. Because, I mean, a prime example of it was when we picked Kyle Pitts. Everyone thought that was crazy because we had Ridley, Julio, and who was our third? Russell Gage. And so everybody was like, and then they were like, you're picking a tight end at number 4? Well, Julio was gone that year. Ridley was gone that year, basically.
Gage left a year after.
Yeah. Gage left.
It just emphasizes the whole BPA, because you can turn your roster so quick. It's crazy.
Right. So it don't, the thing is, you can't go into the draft. Needs are tiebreakers in my book. Like, if you got a guy that's similar,
I agree.
And he's at a position of need, then you can go for the need. But other than that, you're looking for value at everything, and value comes in a lot of different ways and has a lot of different meanings throughout the draft. So, I mean, I'm not saying they just take BPA all across the board, because BPA is kind of subjective, very subjective. And when you get to the later rounds, it's like, do you value what he does as a position player or special teams? If he's like a special teams ace, he's probably more valuable in the later rounds than even a guy that might be better at a position, because whenever you're talking about roster cuts, that's what's going to make the team. That's what's going to help make the team. So.
I mean, when you look at it as best player available, like you said, you kind of have to look at the future because of how fast teams can turn around. Because you never know. I mean, knock on wood, but you never know if Drake London could be better than what he was this year, or maybe he's just stuck at that 800 type guy, or if you re-sign extend Kyle Pitts in about 2 years, or even AJ Terrell. AJ Terrell's a free agent next year. It's just when you're drafting best player available, sometimes you have to think of maybe that guy could be the replacement. Maybe he could, come in and surprisingly go from being a number 3 or 4 to being that number 2 guy, or heck, even the number 1 guy if he's that good. But it just depends what position. But especially positions like running back and edge, where you never really know how a pass rusher or how quick a running back gas is going to run out. You kind of have to draft those guys consistently, at least one every year, or at least try to get some depth in that position. Because if you look at the 2021 edge rush group we had and edge rush group we have now, I think the only one we have left from that group is Ade Ogundeji, if I'm correct.
And then that too, you got to realize also is just as the NFL, injuries happen, so you definitely got to have those. Like if a rookie's got to step up, he's got to step up, and it's nice to have somebody there, even if it is a rookie. So, but as far as the list goes, like I honestly think that I think Schmitz will probably go in the late first. Personally, Gibbs definitely has a chance to be there. And Keanu White might have a chance to be there too. But I think Schmitz is probably going to be definitely a first rounder. That, and I honestly think that Arthur Smith believes in Drew Dahlman. Like I really do think they were just sold on him.
Right, and that's what I was saying too. Like, Smits could play guard too. Like he has that versatility because he has the makeup of a guard. He could do that. I mean, if you got the technique he does and the anchor he does, you could play.
No doubt. If he makes it to the round 2, get our second pick, I'll be totally down to take him.
Right, because like I said, you could play him. You could, if you want to play Dahlman, you can play him at left guard, and then see how that goes, because we're just needing to throw resources at that position basically. Hopefully Mayfield comes through, but I didn't like Mayfield whenever we drafted him, so
yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that either.
Especially whenever you could have got like Trey Smith.
But most of it, I just think Smith will be on by then. But if he's there, yeah, you run to the podium, and in the worst case, you put him at left guard.
So, what was the final conclusion? I left for about 6 minutes because I had to take care of some grocery shopping returns. What was the conclusion y'all had come up to?
I mean, I'm kind of the mind that John Michael Smith has a good chance of being in the first round, but I don't like looking at the teams and like how many teams need center and things. Like I don't think there's a whole lot of there's not a lot of teams that value center that high, because like even like guys like Creed Humphreys and stuff fell to the second round.
I mean, some teams may see him as a right guard too. I mean,
yeah, but even guard, it's kind of like some people like the league hasn't really gotten past the old way of thinking, because like really all 5 of your offensive line positions are important, especially in zone blocking schemes and stuff. In the way that pass rushers, the interior guys that are in the league now and things, but people are still in the old way of thinking of your tackles. Your left tackle is a be all end all, and really, honestly, I think you're in zone schemes, your interior players are just as important, if not more, in certain areas with that. So it just depends on how the league views that position, because even like Linderbaum fell,
Yeah, well, I know that we definitely view our centers really highly, but like what Vlad was saying, like they might just try to trust either Dahlman like just one more year and see
Right.
what happens.
We really don't know like what Arthur Smith like, because Arthur Smith likes taking like guys in like day 2, like 3rd round, like this is kind of his track record. Because I mean, he's not really taken a high offensive lineman yet.
Right.
Which obviously there's a reason. I mean, there's multiple reasons for that, but so we don't really know how, because I think Arthur Smith also has the mindset of he's an offensive line guy, so he feels he can get a guy that's kind of unpolished and can
Exactly.
get him. So that might be another reason that he doesn't go with Smiths. But you know, I think that Arthur Smith is a guy that also would really like a guy like Smiths and could really see like the value in him as well. So
Say, well, that takes care of that problem.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Like this draft is going to be really telling, because this is the first, like all our other drafts, right? We're rebuilding, right? So we were just kind of getting it started. This is going to be like the defining year for this front office. The free agency showed that. The draft. This is the kick this rebuild into high gear. Like we are turning the corner this year. Like not that, you know, it's not like we're gonna be like Super Bowl contenders like right away or whatever, but this is like you're gonna start seeing the fruits of the labor from the past 2 years, and to do that you have to nail this draft. So, we're gonna learn a lot about the philosophy of our team.
I ultimately do think, though, that Arthur Smith will trust his ability, like you were saying, to coach up like a later round guy to take on the role. And then, like I said, they probably trust Drew Dahlman a lot. So that's probably like the two like biggest things going to get Schmitz, in my opinion.
Okay, so what we got going on here? One last time, and I'm either thinking about adding like a name that's been dropping or that's been dropped in the chat, kind of as like a wild card person to have there. I don't know how many other names we'll get to, but just to kind of chalk off a few of these guys. So the thing about Michael Smits here is that he's either that kind of person where he won't even get to us, or if he doesn't get to us, like, is there someone else that's out there? And I see like, what was it, Joe Tippmann or whatever? Like Tippmann's another center that's been available. Like Steve Avila is someone else that might fall, might not, because I heard like him as like a late rounder guy.
I mean, you could have somebody like Voorhees fall because of his injury. You take him.
I love Voorhees, but I don't like him at center necessarily. I like him as a guard.
I was looking at him more left guard with him.
Yeah, I really like him.
We could test the waters for either or, but because that's what Arthur Smith could do. I mean, he made Matt Hennessy a left guard, so I don't think that a guy like Voorhees is going to be super limited if we were to take him.
Yeah, I just think
so. Yeah, I just think that in comparison to the other people, right? Well, first off, again, it's good for his inclusion. I do like hearing about him. I just don't think that he's completely second round worthy. He might be like late second. He might be third round. That might be a more prime position to talk about. Again, I went 1 for 1 with saying his name correctly, and I'm going to keep it at that. But then with Jahmyr Gibbs, right? It's how much do we either value like the running lanes or the running back, when it comes to these two, because it's quite the conundrum. Because like Jahmyr Gibbs will have the burst in order to like go through the zone, and then you won't really have to worry about the running lanes, because either he's going to have the speed in order to get past any problems, or Tyler Algier is going to have the power in order to get past any problems. So I do like having that dynamic, especially with like the uncertainty of like we don't know how long we're going to keep Cordero Patterson here, because
And as much as I love Gibbs, and I would totally be okay with us taking him with that pick, It's just I don't like with we have Algier already. We got him in the 5th round. It just
Right.
seems like this team doesn't value running like because they could get guys like Caleb Huntley as an undrafted free agent. You know, they can get like we like remember last year it was so hard to figure out what running backs were going to make the roster because we had so many guys that we thought were could be on the roster. Like this team, these our scouting department is very good at picking like value at running back. And I mean, like I said, I would have no qualms if he was the pick because he's so talented. But I don't see with this front office that being the pick.
I just I definitely agree there. This system also does like big favors to your running back, also just in the nature of it. So being able to get a guy like that could really give that thunder to Algier's lightning could be found later in the draft. So that's my biggest thing. But would I be upset about Gibbs? By no stretch of the imagination. What I like, the dude's a dynamic running back, but I just think because of the value and the fact that you could find running backs in the draft, I think that's the two biggest things that be going against him personally.
Yeah. So, man, it hurts.
Oh yeah,
It hurts, But I
mean,
gotta
it'd be
do
nice
it.
don't get it twisted. It'd be nice to see Gibbs take one for 80 yards.
Absolutely,
And he
but I
would
think
definitely
that,
be a good counter. Like to have him and Algier, they definitely the way they're two different running styles would be very dynamic. So by all
and
means,
I think that I would
jump
kind
the
of
door.
pounce on that name if he wasn't the only option. We talk about like these other kind of running backs in the later rounds. I don't know where this guy's going to show up, but Alex, if he's still awake, he would know about this name, Israel Abanikanda from Pittsburgh.
I see.
Yeah, that dude. I saw him up close and personal. We beat Pitt, but Tennessee had fits with that dude.
So
yeah,
there's just a couple of other names in which you can include there. And if we still value the running back position highly, even after a guy like Algier, then I see that we take him kind of there and not someone like the high-end talent. Not saying that these other guys aren't high-end talent. I just think that, the drop-off isn't like completely major, but the drop-off does exist. So, kind of like how there was like, oh, well, there was Kenneth Walker, there was Breece Hall, and then it seemed like there was kind of everyone else. And if you can make your name among that crowd, then you were doing well for yourself. And Algier was
then
one
we
of those
find
people.
Algier. Yeah, we found Algier though in the 5th round, and he's been just as productive as those guys. Really, like late in the year. I mean, he got to 1,000
Like if
yards.
it wasn't for like
yards
Kenneth
carry.
Walker, like having like a lot of like touchdowns, then I think that Algier would be even more in the offensive rookie of the year conversation. Because like I think that's what really killed him. I think that's what hurt his conversation.
Well,
It's
and
like
he
only
didn't
had
play the whole
touchdowns in the year.
He wasn't the
Exactly,
guy the whole
but
year.
like neither was Kenneth Walker to a point. So, but yeah, either player made their presence felt. So now we have our obligatory pass rusher to talk about for Atlanta, or we have our offensive lineman in order to kind of compensate that need. And I think that, again, I have to do it. Now, Keon White is not the only name that we're going to throw out here. We're going to, like I said, we're going to add a couple more names in here. But when it comes down to it, it's just about like who else is in the pool,
Right.
And I think that Keon is kind of in that last stretch of like tier A to tier B. He could be in between, but he's in a fine line where you can still take him here and be comfortable. You can, go back and be comfortable. You can go forward and be comfortable. So I do like how his range doesn't really restrict him as far as like what we can do with him. So let's add a couple more.
Yeah, Felix Anaduke Azama, or however you say his Azamoah.
Man, I'm gonna have to buy another Sharpie.
Yeah, this draft has some names, I tell you. And
Okay. So, all right, Nathan D. Coleman, someone. I'm
It's
pretty sure one of y'all
yeah,
typed it.
it's Andiku or D or
Ah, I see it.
yeah,
I know it.
Anaduka. Yeah, it's a doozy, that's for sure.
Another guy I like a lot too. He's not nowhere near as athletic, but I think I was telling y'all, talking to y'all about him before the stream started. Was Tuleye. I don't know how to spell his name.
All right, let's go back over here.
Tuitulole.
There we go.
Yeah, I didn't want to butcher it. There you go. Yeah, I really like him as a another option there in round 2. Personally, yeah, definitely has the pedigree because he has other family members that are in the NFL. Like he has a brother that's starting on the Eagles defensive line. He's got yeah.
You know what? I have a stream idea. Let's do a Wheel of Fortune with these names.
He's got, a cousin that plays for the 49ers, so he's definitely got like that pedigree. He's got really good like speed to power. So like he's really good at collapsing angles. It's just his run ability or his rush ability. He can rush from multiple alignments, including interior. His length is an issue. He's only got 32-inch arms. And he's not really consistent with stressing like vertical sets with speed out of blocks. So, he'll have to work on that. But I do think his upside is really nice. I mean, his stats last year were just mind-boggling. He had 13.5 sacks, 14 quarterback hits, 17 tackles for loss, and 34 tackles. Like the numbers were definitely there.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna include another. No.
Okay.
No, I'm gonna include a name. How about the simple name of Josh Downs? There we go.
I was gonna say Nathaniel Dale, but I was gonna give you an easy one.
Well, we were
Nathaniel
both thinking on the same page as far as wide receiver. So
yeah. I mean, I like Downs pretty well. I haven't watched a ton of tape on him, so I'm just gonna be honest. Like, it's limited. I mean, I've seen like one game of his, so. But I did like what I saw. But yeah, I've really got to dig into the wide receivers a little more. But
here's my thing. Here's why I love the thought of Josh Downs over here for us, right?
mm-hmm.
Our wide receivers would be Drake and Josh.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, like it writes itself practically, right? Like,
yeah, they'd have to play the theme song for that show. I Found a Way or whatever.
Yeah.
I think as far as receivers go, like Josh Downs, I really like him a lot too. Zay Flowers is another guy that I really like too. I don't know if he'll be there, but if he is, like he's like dynamically, he's like electric in space. It's crazy.
Heck, you can also go London Bridge is Falling Downs.
Yeah.
Again, the creativity, it writes itself, bro.
That's funny.
But yeah, with Josh Downs, one thing that I will say is that yes, you may look at him and hypothetically he is physically he's 5'10", 175. You may be thinking like, how the heck is he going to be a perfect fit for us? But I gotta say, what were we talking about earlier with those jump balls, right? Josh Downs, I don't know how he does it, but he always comes down with it. Like, he plays so much bigger than he actually is, and it's incredible because he might play bigger than like a Quentin Johnson, who we talked about earlier, who's like 6'4" in his own right, but sometimes he doesn't know how to track the ball perfectly, right? Josh Downs has that capabilities in order to go up and get it, and despite his size, I mean, it's almost like Steve Smith. Like, I don't want to compare him to Steve Smith, but it's like just like the way that a smaller guy can go up there and just bully the other defender in the air in order to go up and get it, and it happens just on over and over and over again whenever you watch him. I just like how
One of the
how
things
automatic he is when it comes to that.
One of the things I like about Josh Downs too is his run after catch ability. Like would suit this offense like a glove.
I'm going to bring up a thing in the chat here. They talk about Jalen Hyatt. Now I'm a Vols fan. If anyone's in, but they so like I like Jalen Hyatt. This is not like a knock on him necessarily. He was good in college, but I also know that for the first 2 years that he was at Tennessee, he kind of underperformed. And he kind of bought in his last season, and of course he won the Blitnikoff, and all that stuff happened. He had the Alabama game. That was one of the best games of all time. I mean, that's a classic performance. I mean, but I'm worried about his NFL projection, just because he's a speedster, but I don't know how well he does against press, things like that. So this is coming from a Tennessee fan. So I mean I love the dude, but I just don't know if I would take him like this high. I would probably go Cedric Tillman before I would go Hyatt, just off of how I think they would be.
So yeah, Nathan Swartz actually bringing in some other guys, specifically linebackers like Jack Campbell. Obviously, we already talked about Drew Sanders in the last stream. I don't know if he makes it in round 2. And I saw this name, Tyreek Stevenson. You guys know anything about him?
Not off the top of my head, no.
The Miami corner that was a transfer from Georgia. Yeah,
I think we have someone here that knows.
He was decent, pretty good at the Senior Bowl. I'm not gonna attempt to even describe him at all. So, yeah, I've watched him. I've watched a little of him because I don't have much tape on him. But yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. I've watched him. I'm not gonna even say anything else.
Well, there goes that. Antonio Johnson. Again, I think it might be overkill if we go another safety. So
he's more of a nickel, what I understand.
Well, still, I mean, like we didn't get Mike Hughes for nothing.
Yeah, I think if we draft corner at 8, secondary's set. Like I don't really. I mean, obviously when you get to the later rounds, you might draft a guy that's got some special teams upside that might. But as far as like spending big time picks, like second, third round picks, I don't think we're going.
Our 7th worst player, it'd be like in the secondary, it'd be like Jalen Hawkins. It's like, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Even if we don't go corner at 8, like I like a guy like Cam Smith, if he would make it to us in the second. I doubt it, but it would be nice. I really like his game a lot. He reminds me a lot of AJ Terrell.
But I think like if we're going a corner, if we're going secondary, we're going to go a boundary corner, like a guy that can play the boundary. Mm-hmm. I don't think we're going to like be prioritizing nickel. I don't think. I don't. With D. Alford, playing as well as he did and things, and but then we brought back that was it Armstrong?
Cornell
Armstrong.
Mm-hmm.
So I think our secondary is already kind of solidified, especially if we were to take like a Christian Gonzalez or like another top corner in the first round, and that's like boom. All right, we don't have to worry about that position for like another couple of years. Like
that would
it's that good. And now, all right, who wants to talk about Jack Campbell?
I won't. I will not. I've watched him, but I'm not.
He has a lot of like his processing ability. I really liked him. He's got like crazy leader. Like his leadership on the field is really nice. Size and physical. 6'5", 249 pounds. He's got his 31-inch arms, but he
doesn't really like explode on the tape though. Like he doesn't.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. His 40-yard was only like 4.65, so he's not like a crazy athlete or anything.
I mean, he's a good player, and he would be a decent role player, but I don't know. I don't see the second round like hype that he's getting. Like whenever you're talking about first, second rounders, I want to be able to turn on the tape and not know the guy's number, but figure out who it is just by their play.
Honestly, yeah.
And I don't see that with Campbell. Like I see a lot of guys on Iowa's team that like kind of flash more than he does at number 30. I don't even know his name, but
Yeah, this is kind of a weak linebacker class, in my opinion. Like the
yeah.
only two like second rounders, I'd even say.
Well, Drew Sanders, man. Ooh,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Now
Trent,
he's one that like you turn on, like you don't have to know his number. You don't have to know his number. You just turn on the tape and go, hey, that's probably the guy that everyone's talking about because
yep,
he's a beast, man.
I was gonna say like Trenton Simpson, that'd be one guy, and then like Drew Sanders and like the kid from Alabama, the Tide, what's his name? He might be, but like, you know, basically those three, and after that, it's kind of like, no, I'm good.
I actually would beg to differ. I think that the linebacking class is actually pretty deep. Well, I won't say deep, but there's guys later down the board that are a little bit more underrated. And to RIPCLIFF's point about Drew Sanders, there's actually a linebacker in Arkansas that I think is actually pretty good. That is not Drew Sanders. So who?
Poole.
Oh, Poole, yes.
Yeah.
Poole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he's really good too. I don't think he's not the same type of player for sure.
Yeah, different player.
But and definitely not like the athletic upside, but he's a really good player though.
I guess I meant like top heavy.
So Rip, you mentioned number 30 for Iowa. I think that's a DB by the name of Quinn Schultz.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I just whenever I was watching him, that was, I mean, I always like
because that's what ESPN has him listed as. That's what Iowa has him listed as. And if that is if that is the correct number, then he's listed as a DB.
Yeah. Well, he's, I mean,
at 6'1", 208.
Yeah, he was flashing. Like I said, I didn't watch a lot of Campbell, so I'll dig into him a little more. But I don't know. I didn't see it from. But you know, my opinions change sometimes the more film I watch with guys. So.
Yeah, I got a guy. Actually, he's at edge, and I promise his name is a lot easier to say. It's a lot easier to say.
Okay.
His name is Derek Hall out of Auburn.
Oh, thank goodness.
Very, very easy, and it's crazy because he should have been the first name that I said off my list, like by far.
I like his length, his arm length.
Now, if I spell this incorrectly, I'm gonna just shut the stream down right now.
You did spell it incorrectly. It's Derek with like how you spell Derek Carr. Well, no, correction, that's not true. DRDE.
RRI.
Well, that's it for the stream, guys.
There's a lot of different ways to spell Derek, though. So
yeah, but he has
is
34.
it CK? Is that what it
yeah,
is?
CK. Yeah.
Or it could be like the receiver that used to play for Tennessee. Derek.
Well, no, it's Derek with an I.
Oh my God, to Rick Rogers.
Yeah,
no,
Rick Rogers.
Rick Rogers. Rick. It's like
Rick.
Okay. It's okay. We can't spell over here. Anyway, he has like So first off, he has 34-inch arms, so that's great. That's nice. But more so than that, like he has bend, he has burst. As a matter of fact, when you first turn on the tape, you would think, oh, you know, he's got speed, he's got burst. You know, that's going to be like probably the selling point there. But he has power, and he also has like what's it called? He's tagged quite a few guys, like Evan Neal. He's tagged Charles Cross. He had a good performance on and tagged him. Like he's had really, really good performances. He's underrated in that regard. I love the speed. I love the power. I love the speed to power. I love the hand usage. Like he's honestly, TDN, the Draft Network has him as a first round prospect, and I honestly at one point thought he was a first round prospect. So I think that he's really, really good and very underrated, and not a lot of people are going to talk about him. And he may end up falling, like to like the third, if I'm being honest. But I think that he's a really good player.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Hall too.
So So if I'm seeing this correctly, we have 4 pass rushers on here again.
No, 3. Oh wait, 4. Yeah, that's right.
Pass
4.
rusher is very deep in this in day 2. Like day 2 is going to be chock full of edge rushers.
So now I
Yeah.
got to determine. Okay, well, we got the one representation of a wide receiver, right?
Yeah.
Or like I said, we can go with our obligatory conversations about. All right, well, how do we include a pass rusher in this draft class? Now we got to think about the importance of a wide receiver for our offense right now.
Yeah.
And
I think
Man,
that it is definitely something that, you know, you could see them filling.
yeah, the need is there, right? But
Yeah.
I also think that with our pass rush, the way that it's been for like the last like decade, like we're really trying to go for the method of like, hey, let's shoot the fly with a shotgun.
You can tell it scarred us, right?
Yeah, like now we're just
Oh yeah,
way
this
overcompensating.
front office and this coaching staff ain't going to let us not have a pass rush. Like
this
they
is-
are not going to do that. They're throwing resources at that.
Talk
so,
about an oversteer. Like,
yeah. So, I like that. Hey, I'm
yeah,
all
like
for
I
it.
said, I'm not against it at all. But it's just at what point do we stop?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't think it's this draft. We're gonna.
It might
take an
not
edge
be
rusher.
right because we have to have a number of prove it guys. And speaking of which, these names they gotta, you know,
Mhm.
they gotta get separated. So we gotta pluck them off one by one, and then it's just gonna. I can go back to the conversation of like, okay, well, how do we value wide receiver or pass rusher here when it is just one edge rush and one wide receiver? So how do you guys want to split this up?
So, I mean, with Felix, the thing with him is like he doesn't have like an athlete. Like I'm not saying he's not an athlete because he is, of course, but he's not like gonna be like he's never gonna be like a number 1 pass rusher, right? But what he's gonna give you is he's gonna be a solid edge setter because he does everything. He's you know, kind of a jack of all trade, master of none kind of thing. He's very technically sound. He constantly creates pressure, sets the edge as well. He's pretty strong in the run. He's just going to be a guy that's going to be solid for you for the next 10 years or so if you want him to be. Just, you know, and we've already got that guy in AK, you know, that has that upside. I think pairing him with somebody that's kind of like a Felix would be something to consider for sure.
I kind of feel the same thing. It's kind of the same way about Tule there. You know, he has like the NFL pedigree with his family, and you know he has the production and whatever. But his athleticism is definitely going to hinder him a lot in the NFL. And like he'll be a solid number 2 for you. But like if we're looking for that true number 1, you know that's the main reason why I like Keanu White so much is because like that athletic ability. If he can just refine his pass rush, like he has the ability to be that true number 1. So that's the reason why I probably would, you know, take Tule off the board personally, just because of the athletic ability.
So I'm actually looking up just the measurables of everyone, just to get it in my knowledge board. And yeah, I absolutely, of course I spelt it wrong. Of course I spelt like the one of the the easiest names on here. When you think back, is VRRICK. And then okay, so for those wondering, if you guys don't have access to that, or we're just going to figure this out as we go. Tule is currently listed at 6'4", 290.
I didn't realize he was that big, honestly.
Yeah, he's
He plays
huge.
a lot like faster, honestly, than that.
Derek Hall is currently listed at 6'3", 255. Keon White is 6'5", 286. And people do not want to tell me about Felix.
Because
Don't
he's
worry.
huge.
6'3", 255.
Well, he's 255?
That's what
Yeah, all
NFL
of them.
has him at.
6'3", 255?
Is that his combine weight?
No shot.
Yeah.
No shot. No, 6'3", 255?
6'3", 255, 33.5-inch arms.
No
9
shot.
5/8 of hands.
There's no way. He looks skinny on tape. That's crazy.
Well, some people can wear their height and weight well.
they, I mean, look at like Kalijah Cansey, man. He's like pushing 3 bills, and dude, he looks.
Damn, he's short, man. Like, goodness gracious, he's short. Goodness, I was watching tape of him the other day. He is short.
But that helps him on the interior though more. Than
It does, but
it
gosh,
helps him
dang,
get to that level.
he borderline looks Josh Down size. Like it's kind of crazy. It's kind of wild.
So yeah, this is all right. That's a kid to keep in mind. How's it going, Eric Mack? Glad to have you join us. So now that we have that information at our disposal, who do you think fits the bill the best in terms of like what Ryan Nielsen could want?
Honestly, Keon White kind of fits what I think Nielsen. Like if we're going off, like all we have is what we saw in New Orleans, right? So you got guys like Marcus Davenport, Cam Jordan,
Like Trey Hendrickson,
yeah, like a
Carl
big
Granderson, whatever.
athletic edge that maybe are a little raw coming out that you feel like you can get your hands on and develop. Keon White kind of fits that. Now, would that necessarily be who I would pick? I don't think so. But
Not out of these four.
out of those 4, I don't think I would. But I'm
So then
talking
who are you leaning on?
specifically. I like Felix a lot. Just
Okay.
because of his consistency, but I'm more of a floor guy. Like I like guy because I feel like the more floor guys you get, the better off you are. Because I could hit a home run with some guys, but I can also strike out.
Yeah,
It's
like I said last time, we
opposed to
talked
get
about
on
low
base.
risk.
You get on base.
Yeah,
Like you get a guy that can get you a single or a double, but he might not have the power to knock it out of the park, but he's going to get you on base. And the more guys you get on base,
That's the thing about this roster right now. I feel like especially the pass rush where it's at right now. Like you have all the second and third guys. Like you need that number one. So like I feel like the way this roster is constructed to take that big swing, it's actually more advantageous for this roster, especially with a guy like Nielsen.
So Alex, you have like one last defense for Derek Hall then?
Sure. Outside of the fact that he has 34-inch arms, is pretty can win on the corner. He's played reps in coverage. He's tagged Charles Cross and Evan Neal. He's a pretty good player. He knows what he's doing out there. So that's kind of all I have to say.
You know what? I just realized I spelled it wrong. Correct. You know what?
Just for that, I'm gonna give you a hard person's name just because you couldn't spell it.
No, we're done. All right, we're done with the names. All right, Derek Hall. I misspelled his name like 4 different times somehow, and it was like the easiest one. Meanwhile, I had these guys. So yeah, okay. That I don't have to worry about him. But now we got Thule, we got Keon, we got Felix, and we got Josh. Okay, so any other last line of defense for Thule?
I mean,
Because he's actually kind of a D tackle now that I'm looking at him.
yeah. I mean, he's you could definitely rotate him if you wanted inside outside kind of guy. As far as, like I said, he's got the pedigree, so that's working for him. But like I said, I think his athleticism is definitely going to like hinder him as far as the draft board goes, because they're going to want to get that upside kind of player, because they're probably going to look at the way the roster is constructed and be like, man, we need to take a big swing and see if we can land this number one guy. So I think with his athletic limitations, I think it definitely won't be him.
I do not think he's a D tackle. Like I think I've seen him play reps at linebacker. Like he can play literally everywhere. I don't think
This dude's dang near 300 pounds. How is he a linebacker?
I'm pretty sure I've seen him at linebacker. Like
They like rush him like kind of like a Zadarius Smith. They kind
exactly.
of like
Yeah.
bring him over
He's more of a
the
Zadarius.
center guard kind of thing. He's not like a true linebacker. Like
No, not at all.
Was he like one of those?
Like he rushes kind of like. I think I've seen him blitz and then just rush the passer like from a linebacker spot.
Would you say that he's kind of like in the same mold of what Tuyo Mariner was for us a while back? Where it's like he kind of went in for us as a D tackle, but then kind of changed his body and became like a linebacker for us.
no, like I said, I would say like a Zadarius.
He's more
type
like he's
player.
an edge player that can rover like in
Yeah,
the
like
middle.
a rover. Yeah, like he just kind of like you rush him.
Can kind of
different
drop
ways.
into coverage if you need him to. Like that's
But
more of an edge.
The thing is, I don't think also I don't know if Nielsen's gonna run a scheme that could really take advantage of that. With
Yeah, I think he could because he has Ellis on the roster, and Ellis is like he's more scheme specific as well. Like I think that would be fine. But honestly, when you look at him, I did not think that he was a defensive tackle like at all. I thought he was a pure edge. As a matter of fact, I didn't even know he was 290. I thought he was like 250. It's crazy.
Well, he's hiding those 40 pounds somewhere. Wish I could be that good to hiding pounds. Okay. Well, RIPCLIFF, what do you have to say about this? Lance Zerline has the George Karlaftis as the player comp for Tui.
no.
Yeah, I concur with that. No, I concur with that. No, indeed.
No. Karlaftis
So,
is a completely different type of player.
Yeah. Once again, Lance Zerline is no. Just no.
I love Karlaftis and everything, and I like them, both of them, but just they're not the same type of player at all.
Yeah.
No, they're really not.
You want to know the origination of the why? Why I'm known for saying why? It's because the Chiefs want to sit here and take Karlaftis. That's literally.
Man, I was happy for him because he went to a good team to win a Super Bowl and everything. But
okay, you know what, Noah? Don't do that. Don't trigger my.
You were the one that was going to give me the longest names possible. All right.
I'll do it again. Just for that. That is messed up.
Heck, I don't have to do another stream. You never thought of that, huh?
You know what? Just for that, I'm gonna just send you a whole bunch of long names that are good. Just because.
All right.
You wake up tomorrow, you're gonna see a long name.
Trey, you're back with us. So what are your thoughts on these four names that we got?
I think he might be what's it called? Fixing something right now.
Okay, never mind. All right, so Thule is kind of on the ropes here. Yeah, I think he's going to go over the top rope. I think it's a done deal. And now we got two pass rushers versus one wide receiver. And now I think the conversation can just start a little bit. I think the conversation about, okay, well, wide receiver or pass rusher, like,
I could definitely see us going wide receiver in the second round.
But I could also see us, doing one last punch with the pass rushing.
Right. The Josh Downs thing, though, we have already invested 2 first-round picks in a row into high-end offensive weapons at the receiver position. So that would be kind of like my thing against that is like we haven't really invested in the edge. I mean, other than we got AK last year, but with this, honestly, as high as we're picking in the second round, I kind of view that as a late first round pick because you're gonna probably get the value that fell out of the first round at that spot. So I kind of see it a little different than like picking,
And
mid
uh,
second or later second.
and Arthur Smith does value his tight ends really high too. So another receiver probably wouldn't be as effective as it would be in other teams.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was
yeah. I
kind of
mean,
thinking
like,
about that too.
yeah. As we're, and then we have Oz still.
Yeah.
Do we?
Wait, we do?
I mean, he's not been re-signed yet, I don't think. But
Yeah, I doubt. I don't know. I don't know. I
I-
hope he comes back.
Yeah, because Arthur Smith has made it clear that's like one of his favorite players to know to coach. So I don't
It's
think that he
not,
just like walks out the door like that, especially just like with no like no announcement.
I mean, if he does like finding slot receivers is like finding, I don't know, apples on a tree. Like like on an apple tree.
don't
Like,
disrespect him like that, though. Like Oz's
No, Oz's
different.
good.
He's
Oz's
different.
No,
He's
because one thing that I may not be able to say about Josh Jones, but I can definitely say for OZ is that he has helped us out a ton in run blocking.
He has,
Right,
indeed.
and I really want Josh Downs to kind of be that, or just any slot guy. I want them to have that same, that same effort that they give when it comes to blocking, because like they don't have to be perfect, right? But I just need you to try, and I just need you to sell the run, or like sell a pass, like fake it, and just just leave the defender confused. Like just do something, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't do anything, like, and if you just kind of like, oh, we'll just kind of stand there and just kind of put your arms out and just like that doesn't help anyone, right? Especially if you got to have like a zone run scheme and it's kind of you got to have a running back that's got to bounce it out to the outside, and now you don't have that guy to kind of seal that edge.
We signed Ellis, right? But we're seeing him more like as a guy that could be like kind of an off-ball guy and rush the passer, right?
Right.
Not like a pure look at how we signed. Look what we signed in free agency. We went and got Max Hollins or whatever, or Mac Hollins or however you say his name. And so I think that we're setting this up to go edge very early in the draft. So we haven't got that like pure edge guy, like that pure.
Yeah, that's how I look at it too.
Right.
And like I said, as far as the receiver goes, like Jonnu Smith, authors brought him in for a reason, and I think that was pretty much your other receiving option. So they might bring another receiver later in the draft, but I doubt it'll be this high.
Yeah, I just think that first, to me, slot receiver in general, or slot receiver, I think in general is just like a undervalued position amongst wide receivers. Even though
in the system, definitely.
Right, like JSN and what's his name, Jordan Addison. Those guys are great and they probably will go first round. Well, definitely will go first round. But just in general, right? Finding a slot receiver is relatively easy, both in free agency and in the draft. Like in the later rounds, you can find really, really good slot receivers. That's just the nature of the draft and finding receivers in general. In terms of an OZ replacement, there's Jaden Reed out of Michigan State, who basically I think does relatively what OZ can do, probably better if I'm being honest with the speed. In terms of I think that he can probably play on the outside if needed, like legit if needed. Whereas OZ, you put him on the outside, you're kind of scared a little bit, just a little bit. I think that Reed, you can play him on the outside if you really need to. Just there's a lot of slot receivers here, like Tank Dell, Jalen Hyatt, like a whole bunch of guys. It's insane.
So I think that now that we've kind of reached that talking point, like I want a good cushion, for receiving options. And sometimes you can have different ways to go about that, right? Last year, I was talking about Kyle Phillips and how awesome he would be because, like, a guy like him would just always get open. Like, it didn't matter, And I kind of see the same thing when it comes to Zay Flowers, right? Like it doesn't matter what route that you give him. It doesn't matter where you put him on the field. He just finds a way to get open all the time.
Yeah.
And if he isn't open, then he will catch the ball in
If-
order to make himself seem
yeah.
open.
If we do
So-
take a receiver, that's who I'd want in the second round.
Zay
personally.
Flowers is insane, and I highly, highly, highly doubt that he ever makes it to the second round. Like, I don't think
Yeah, if he makes it to the second round, the other like 28 teams or whatever
are
that
on
has the
drugs.
first round pick.
They're on drugs.
Yeah.
They're on drugs.
Yeah, I mean, if he makes it to the second round and he's there, then yeah, he's like my number one.
No, they're just on drugs.
Yeah,
Like, at this point,
yeah,
just shut
yeah,
down the draft. Like,
just-
it's not
just-
even legit.
Yeah, like I mean, what are you like mad because he's not like huge or something? Is that, I mean, but I don't even think
Please
the
make
league
that
is-
debate. I want.
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
don't even think that's like a thing anymore because you see so many smaller receivers, make it. It's like
Yeah, he's definitely the same thing I feel with Schmitz. Like, even probably worse than Schmitz. Is like, I don't think he'll make it to the second round, but if he does, like, you sprint to the podium.
yeah.
Not even sprint. You'll like evaporate to the podium. Like, it's not even like
Instant transmission.
I'm there. I'm already there.
I will teleport.
Yes, indeed.
So I guess that when it comes to that, like I said, we're already talking up the depth that would be found behind a guy like Josh Downs in order to kind of fill in that role of, hey, I need you to play the slot, but in case, knock on wood, again, still don't really have much wood around me. If a Drake London or like a Matt Collins were to go down, I don't even know if Matt Collins is going to be like a, day one starter, but I need someone else to fill in that void for either one of them happens to get injured and I'm running out of tight ends to use, So I want someone else to be there just because I like one last cushion, and then I can feel good about the receiver position because like we don't have to be super deep, like we don't have to be like the Bengals. If they have just the three receivers, like they're fine with that. Like they they don't have to do anything else other than that. But when it comes down to like the Falcons, we might have two running backs, we might have two tight ends, we might have two receivers, and then fill in the gaps with everyone else with like a fullback or whatever. Like we don't normally have a whole lot of wide receivers on the field. And if we are, then that means that we're kind of in trouble. So that's what it felt like last year for us, especially. So representation of the wide receiver has not been off the board. And now we got to go to the last little bit, and hopefully we can make a decision quickly. Keon or Felix?
Okay. All right.
Yeah, like I said, Keon, he has the athletic profile but he's also like he could be a home run or he could be a strikeout. Like he's a boom or bust. Like he is. Whereas, like I said, Felix is that
He's a safer
guy.
pick.
He is gonna, what you're getting with him, right? And he's gonna get you probably 8 sacks a year. Maybe have 1 or 2 years where he's in double digits. Some years where he's down to like 5, but he's never gonna like be nothing on your team, and he's always gonna give you good run defense. Keon could be dominant, but he could also be out of the league in 3 years. So
Yeah. Okay. One last thing. We didn't really talk about that, and I'm glad that you brought that up. Who's the better run defender?
Felix.
I don't know.
I think Felix is right now because of just his technique.
Probably.
Keon has the upside though, like so.
Right. So then it comes down to, do you trust Ryan Nielsen to get him there in time, whereas like a Felix would already kind of be at that level?
Well,
Yeah, but like
yeah.
we
Felix
in the
is-
second round, I'm one that don't like Tyree at 8 because like if you're picking number 8, like you need a guy that's going to be like instant starter. But in the second round, though, you kind of can get a guy that's going to take some time to develop. So I don't really like if they think Nielsen
Katie didn't get a ton of snaps this year,
right?
You know, and like we felt that we didn't have to.
And didn't
rush
Malone go in
him.
the third, or was he the
fourth?
Yeah,
Late third. We didn't have a fourth round pick because
that's right.
Yeah.
Well, the whole thing about the main reason why I like White, especially for the Falcons, like I said a minute ago, is the roster construction. Like they have a bunch like Epicati, Malone. They have these, these number
Renzo
2,
Carter.
number 3. Yeah, they have these number 2, number 3 guys. But if if you can take a guy like Keanu White and Ryan Nielsen can develop him, he has the potential to be that number 1 for you. And that's one of the one positions on the team we don't have an actual true number 1 at. That's the main selling point to White. Like, yeah, he's definitely a boomer bust, like super boomer bust. But if you hit it, man, you're set.
All right. First, I just want to say to D. Coleman that I was never thinking in that way. So you said pause for no reason. But anyway, I think that Keon White, actually, in my personal opinion, the Georgia game, I don't think that he's actually that raw, and that's a controversial statement. I get it. Personally, I don't think he's that raw. I would argue that he's actually pretty decently refined, in my personal opinion. I don't think he's crazy by any means, but I don't think that he's necessarily raw.
That Ole Miss game was good too.
Yeah, I think he showed even versus Broderick Jones, he showed me certain things I'm going to a power. Okay, that didn't work. I'm going to go to a rip, and in that same sequence and see if I can get around the corner. He's showing different things. In the Georgia game, in my personal opinion, I don't think he's that raw because I've went through this edge class. There are some raw guys, but actually a lot of them are actually pretty good. But still, I think he's fine. And in terms of developing and things of that nature, I think that he can get there. That's just my opinion.
I think Ryan Nielsen will look at him and be like, man, he could be my Cam Jordan, basically, is what he'll look at Keanu White like.
He could be your Marcus Davenport, though, too.
Yeah, but
I mean, that's right. That's true, too.
I also think that I'm going to say something even more controversial. I think that Andre Carter is overrated, very overrated. But I will definitely that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, Andre Carter better be there in the second because if anyone takes him in the first,
if someone takes him in the first, they're on drugs.
If Andre Carter was the reason that Zay Flowers made the second round,
I promise you. I promise you.
As long as the Falcons don't draft in the first round,
there's a lot. There's a lot of cocaine sniffing up in the first round. I can tell you that. If that is what happens,
that'd be a more dope show than we have.
Indeed.
So, all right. One last thing, because we already reached the 2-hour mark, and I got to make one final decision. So, what I got here with Keon White is a project, right? But with Felix, I get less of a project, but then less of the home run. And I think that right now, like I said, we talked about the low risk opportunity and how GMs, they love low risk. Even if it means that they don't get the highest reward when it comes to a player because they know that their coaches have that capabilities to bring a person that we didn't think was a home run hitter into one. So, really enticing, but I just think that the versatility with Felix is just almost too good to pass.
Yeah, his hands are different. They are different.
Yeah. He's a very common pick that I take in mocks that I do.
Indeed.
Because it's hard. And I actually have to stop myself from picking him a lot of times because I pick him so much that I'm I need to go somewhere else to see how that works. But when he's there, it's just
his hands are just different, man. They're different.
And my thing is you might say that we don't have those guys on our team, but I think AK could be that home run guy that develops. But if you just keep getting on the ground, if you keep getting on base next year or whatever, you might be able to take that big swing, right?
Yeah.
Like this year, we're turning that corner, right? But when you take the home run swing, right, is whenever you've turned that corner and you're needing that last little bit to get you to a championship, right? When you're rounding the corner, it helps to get those guys that are going to get you those singles and doubles, using baseball analogies. That, and so Felix is that guy. Gonzalez is that guy, but Gonzalez has the upside of a, star player, but he's also a consistent, he's going to be day one, a consistent guy for you.
Oh,
So
I definitely wouldn't be mad at all if they took Felix. Like his function, he has really good functional core strength,
because think about it this way too. If we get Keon, right, and he doesn't work out, you've kind of set us back a little bit.
Indeed.
You've set us back, whenever you could have got a guy that just kind of gets us around that corner, then you can take swings at guys because you have the core there.
Yeah, but yeah, you definitely can. I mean, but it's the same argument though. Like if he does hit though, it's the opposite.
No, I'm not. I wouldn't be necessarily mad if we took Keon White. I'm just saying that's kind of my thinking on it. Is this year we're really rounding that corner, so you want to get guys that are more consistent.
Yeah, like Felix. When I watch him, right, every time I watch him, right, whenever he uses his hands, it's like he's winning. Like he has one of the best hands in the class, like one or some of the best hands. And I won't say one of. He has some of the best hands in the class. Like there are guys.
Yeah, his left hand is just dominant. His right hand could use some work, but
you know what? We're not gonna do that. but like there are guys in this draft class like Lonnie Phelps out of Kansas who has hands, but like can't do really anything else outside of that. But like Felix he's him. Okay, he's him. He may not be elite, but like them hands is crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't care. I don't care. Okay, like he's good.
You can definitely rush him too from like an outside linebacker spot or
probably
the traditional end.
Inside out versatility. He's him. Like I don't know what else to say. Like I don't care.
His flexibility and bend is really nice too.
Case in point, respect these hands, or you will catch these hands.
Precisely. And if you need another edge, like maybe if you just want another edge later in the rounds, you can get one. Trust me. You can get one. You're fine. You're okay. It's fine.
And then if like Malone develops, so now you have Felix, AK, Malone,
Grady,
Carter. Now you got like a rotation that is like they may not be like the best in the NFL, but they are. And Grady is your game changer. He's your elite of elite. He's that 1% of the 1%. Kind of guy. Even though he's an interior player, so if you just have a bunch of other guys around him that are just consistent, like you're good,
Yeah.
Especially when you got the safeties we do now, and if you have Gonzalez and Terrell and Hayward as your corners.
Yeah, I would bet. I'd bet my house that Will McDonald doesn't make it out the first round. Like I would bet. Like my current.
The only thing with him is his age, because if he was like a little bit younger, he would definitely like no way he makes it out of the first. But
he's
like
be,
with
what,
his 24? Age. Yeah, like
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he's like older. He's like an older prospect because of the COVID. Like, but you see that a lot with the COVID stuff now. So, but but I just think like that could push him down to the second round just because of if he was a little, because he's a little bit like he's not like raw. I wouldn't say he's like completely raw, but there is some things that you would want to work on with him.
Like the power, like
yeah,
if you just get stronger.
Right. So like with him being a little older, GMs might look at that and go, maybe I could go with this other guy that might be a little younger,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if he was like a year or two younger, like no way he makes it out of the first. But
not even close. Like it's like
yeah, we had another one. Like we talked about Will McDonald last stream, and our thought process was that I don't think he really makes it to round 2.
He does not.
So that's why I don't think that anyone else really considered him
I mean,
there.
anyone can, because the thing is, like, there's not much difference between a guy like in the first and falling all the way to the third. Like, there's not that much because it just takes a few different things to go a different way, and you can fall quite drastically.
Yeah, the needs of the teams and stuff, like how they value people, they're going to vastly fluctuate.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, again, so it's like even if you want to have like this hypothetical of, you know, like someone saying Tyree Wilson and Jack Campbell at 44, it's like I'm not prone to disagree because I know that that's another hypothetical that could happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we're just saying like, all right, well, this is our collective thought process, and what we kind of a decision on is that, hey, we really like our chances with getting a Christian Gonzalez. We really like our chances of getting a Felix. We think that both could be there for us, and we think that both could really help out our team to just kind of, you know, be those final patchings of what our secondary and what our D-line has been missing for a while.
And guys, also keep in mind that, like, when we're talking about people falling or could go in the first round, anybody could really go in the first round. Anyone can go, like, fall. Because I mean, Cole Strange went the first round last year. Okay,
right.
There's always those couple of picks that you're like, what the hell? Whenever Edmonds, his brother went to the Steelers in the first, Terrell
Like when somebody takes Lucas Van Ness in the top 20.
Yeah, oh my god, dude, seriously.
Oh my gosh, let me find out. Let me find out.
I'm so sick of hearing about.
I
don't get
saw
it.
him at
I
8,
do
bro. I almost
because I don't even
puked,
see the
bro.
upside of him. I don't even see the.
I don't get it,
bro. If you are just looking at the arms and saying, "Oh yeah, he should be at 8," please just log off from me. Well, you know,
I don't. I mean,
you've done enough. You're good. You're good.
I mean, anyone could be great. But I just don't see it with Lucas. I just don't.
I wanna cry. I wanna cry if we get Lucas. I'm gonna cry, dude. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop with all this drafts. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it.
I don't think our front office. I mean, our front office has been. I mean, overall, our drafting has been pretty good for the year with Smith and with Fontenot. Like, there's only been a couple of picks that I wasn't on board with, like Mayfield, and even like later picks. Sometimes like that's okay. Even if I wasn't big on the guy, like it's a later pick. Like Darren Hall was he 4th round?
I think it's
5th round.
5th
round. So
I did not like that pick. I'll be honest with you. I did.
But I mean, it's a 5th round pick, though. You know what I mean? Like it's whatever.
It's like, oh, boo-hoo.
Yeah. Like when you're
fine.
talking about Mayfield in the 3rd, that pisses me off because especially when you had Trey Smith and I've said I'm a Vols fan. I was big on. Anyone could tell you I was big on Trey Smith. I was screaming for him. And if we had went Kyle Pitts, Richie Grant, Trey Smith, that would have been it. Or
Javon Holland, because I almost like.
If that happened,
I
wouldn't have been able to stop all the possible moments that RIPCLIFF would have been saying.
Yeah, I would have been. That would have been. I've been like, am I drafting this team? Am I drafting them? I don't know. I think I am.
I promise you, when we traded back and we didn't get Javon Holland, I like. I'm not gonna finish
Holland,
that
but that's just that was my opinion on that. I wasn't a huge Holland guy, but he's been good in the league though. So
not to change the subject, but I didn't actually know Keanu White is 24, Nathan.
He's 24.
Yeah, apparently. I had to know that. Never mind.
Yeah, you're good, bro.
Never mind.
Good. Yeah, you're fine. Yeah, Keon, you like. I'm sorry, just be 23, bro. Like, I'm sorry, like that's your knock. Like, be 23.
Hey, remember when you were 22? Okay, can you do that again?
Yeah, just like, I don't know, forge your age or something. I don't know, like do something. But yeah,
I could see Drew Sanders at 44, but at the same time, with Ellis, and then we already got Anderson.
Yeah,
I mean, I would be okay with it, but
I'd be
at the
cool with
same-
that too.
but
I
at
mean,
the same time, I just don't see it. I think
if you
I think we're setting up for edge. I think that's
Yeah.
that's if it's not in the first round, it's gonna be in the second.
Y'all
the
want a
thing-
linebacker
and the
that
thing
you
about-
guys will like in the later rounds? Owen Popo. he's him. He's him. Okay, that's all you need to know.
I got another one in which you might be like, huh? Marte Mapu.
I know him. I don't have tape. I just don't have tape, man. If I had tape, I would watch him. I don't have it. I want to though.
Well,
I've heard good things.
hopefully for me, if I'd have known about him like during the actual season, maybe I could have like gone over there and take a 15-minute drive or whatever it takes me in order to go to the college in which
Hey,
he's from.
Michael,
So,
if we trade back up into the first and draft Miles Murphy with that pick, I will throw up.
I would. If Will, what's his name, McDonald's is on the board,
Because it would be giving up draft capital and drafting Miles Murphy.
I'd be
Gross. Now I would love
especially if Will
Jalen Carter, but gross.
if Will McDonald was on the board and we went Miles Murphy, you know what? Never mind. I'm not gonna finish that sentence. But you get the point. Anyway, yeah, there's a lot of depth in it. Oh, D Withers. I didn't even mention D Withers out of TCU at linebacker. He's good. I've heard. I haven't seen it. I've heard that he's been manned up on slot receivers. I have not seen it, but I've heard it. But I've seen him on tight ends. He looks great. Like he looks natural. He looks like a cornerback. But yeah, so that's a guy too.
I'll be honest with you, I haven't looked at any of the linebackers in this class. I just, if we do take one, I think it'll be real late.
Yes, yeah, we're the linebacker depth up top is but like down later, it's pretty decent. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. But I think the class with the most depth is between corner or interior defensive line, in my personal opinion. In my personal opinion, I think that interior defensive line might be better in terms of depth. That's just me.
okay. Well, like I said, we're going to cut off the show right there. Did you guys
So
have any
you're
other
saying,
final
Michael, that
statements?
we trade a third to trade back up, like we trade a second and a third to trade back over the first to draft Miles Murphy? No, please God, don't let that.
There is no way in the Lord's name that I am drafting Miles Murphy over Will McDonald.
Oh, all right. You guys good? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, cool. I was going crazy there for a second again. One last one though. I mean, we're talking about overkill at a position, right?
Alrighty, yeah.
But yeah, I think we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna stop the show right there. Vlad, did you have any other final thoughts you wanted to say, either about free agency, draft, whatever?
Not really. I mean, just can't wait for the season.
All right, cool. Makes it easy. RIPCLIFF, do you got anything?
Nope. I've got the whole week off for the draft because I'm going to a concert on that Tuesday, and then I'm just taking the whole week off. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So,
Yeah, I'm taking Thursday, Friday, and we'll see what happens on Saturday. Alex, last thoughts?
I am no longer watching film, like at all. Like no more, no mas. I'm done.
All right, well,
As
that
he
does it. All
goes,
right,
he
thank
turns
you guys
off.
for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in.
and he goes to watch tape.
No
So-
more tape.
I don't know when their next stream is going to be, but yeah, we'll have to do something soon again. So
We must not do a
Yep,
round 3.
one last time. Thank you again. Thank you. I'm thinking about it. Right, I'm contemplating. I don't know if I want to do this to my legs and back again.
Don't do it. Don't do that. Let's
I mean,
not.
my last possible moment. My last possible moment.
Okay. All right.
I've already been on stream for about like 5 hours in the last like 2 weeks while on my knees recording with the phone in front of me. I'm not going to have any more of that. So. So we're going to end the stream right here. Thank you guys. And
the phrasing.
No.